Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So let me, give a quick introduction. My name is 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. I manage services, all professional services for CrowdStrike in Asia. I'm based in Singapore. Right now, I'm traveling, but definitely, I'm happy to take these interesting sessions. So the topic, what I'm going to cover out here is the cyber trends and how AI is changing the world. Because I would like to, cover a couple of things which are very important or which are key actually to understand in terms of the cybersecurity trends for last, 6 to 8 months or even the year. What is happening in Asia or outside Asia, and how these, the attacks or cyber incidents are happening across the globe. So with that, a quick introduction I have already given. I'm MBA, Master of Science in Cybersecurity, certified in AI and fintech business applications. I have about 21 years plus experience in payment, security, and consultancy in APJ and EMEA. I'm ex-banker, so I also work in a couple of large fintech organizations in Asia. I'm also running a Singapore chapter for Data Security Council, which is into data privacy and cybersecurity, and helping organizations to enhance their cybersecurity posture. Other than that, I'm also helping organizations actually to, to come out from any kind of incident via cybersecurity practice in CrowdStrike. Now, if you look at, the scenario, and you have been seeing these cybersecurity attacks in the news for last several years, whether it is, a target attack, or the other attacks like SolarWinds cases. If you have seen last 1 year, if you have been tracking those supply chain attacks or SolarWinds cases, after that Microsoft Exchange cases, and now recently, I mean, if you have heard about 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 vulnerability, which has been detected recently in Apache server, web server. I think because of these continuous cyber incidents, organizations are being impacted badly. And that's where actually IDC mentioned in 2019 that breaches are everywhere. Nobody is safe. The only point or only variable is that when you're going to be attacked. You're going to be attacked for sure. And that's where actually IDC always says that 1 out of 3 organizations has been breached by ransomware in the last 12 months. It is a 2019 and 20 report, but I think this remains same. In fact, it is going towards the 2 out of 3 organizations has been breached. Not yet, but definitely, that report may come at some point of time, because the ransomware attacks are being happening. Nation states attacks are little at a stable position. So I will show some data points which would help you to understand where are the issues. Now, if you look at overall, we have seen the COVID situation in 2019. What are the challenges? The challenges that we were not able to reach to our data centers because of the lockdown. We were operating from home. We were outside our security perimeter, because we were using, the personal devices and emails. We had those provision of corporate assets, or scalable deployment. If suppose that if somebody is operating from home, it is very difficult actually to, give them access, give them devices which are secured. And what happened, because you use the personal device and email, there were a lot of tactics used by those adversaries. They were using their TTPs, techniques and procedures. So one of them, and the key and the largest, is the phishing attacks, whether it is a normal phishing or a spear phishing, which is more focused towards executives. But those were one of the actually tactics they were using. They were also, targeting remote services. So, you're not able to, control it, because the organizations or the employees were operating from home, operating from, outside their the network. Definitely, they were using VPN, but end of the day, it is outside their corporate network perimeter. And then there were a lot of, the tactics were used. Like phishing robocalls or a tech support scam, that if somebody is calling you that, okay, you have some problem, I have seen those cases actually. Even in Singapore, I got a call that, hey, there is some problem in your Wi-Fi. I think your connection is not stable. I'm calling from company A. And actually, I was not having that Wi-Fi from that company A. I was using that company B's Wi-Fi and broadband. So these kind of attacks, or the calls, random calls, were being made all across. Now we have given a lot of recommendations to our customers, partners, across the globe, that you need to have a visibility what you're doing right now. You need to have visibility of each and every malicious activity which may come actually in your device, or you should be little careful while sharing any sensitive information. If you think that this email or this call looks like a phishing or a scam, please do not respond. Please do not share any PII information, personal identifiable information, or any other your personal details. Not only even on the call, even the social media platform like Facebook or any other, LinkedIn. We need to have some kind of IT hygiene of all our systems. So we need to look at the different patches. If you look at this 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 vulnerability, definitely patching is one of the recommendations, that you need to have a patching as soon as possible, so you can at least mitigate the risk. The awareness, the employees, the students, citizens need to aware about these cybersecurity incidents, so they can be prepared if they are being hit by those adversaries, whether e-crime or ransomware. And definitely the organizations need to have an incident response plan, because as I mentioned, nobody's safe. At any point of time, they can be hit. So what are the plans? How they can actually, I would say, that reduce the impact of that any cybersecurity incident. It is very important to have that kind of a preparedness. And then partnerships, the partnerships with the right organizations, external organizations. So if there is any issue, they can come and support, to manage that particular incident. Now, if you look at the July 2020 to June 21 data, and data has come from our own global threat report. Now, what are the verticals which have been hit by these the cyber incidents? The technology is number one. I mean, look at it. We have been talking about cloud. We have been talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning. We have been talking about robust, sophisticated endpoint security. But it's still the technology companies are being hit. Those companies which may have actually better control, better security control than other organizations like academics, healthcare, retail, manufacturing. But the number one actually, the victims are the technology organizations. The second one is a telecom. Now, why technology? Definitely technology companies, so the ITS companies work with multiple vendors across the globe. There could be some sensitive information related to the contracts, related to the SLAs, related to some services which are being provided, and that is kind of a sweet spot for those adversaries to exfiltrate the data and then not only impact that particular IT company, but impact partners and the customers of that IT company. So that is main motto actually behind these kind of attacks. The telecommunication, anyone can guess that telecom has always the largest data actually, in terms of if you compare the verticals. So the data is key here, to kind of exfiltrate the data, to disrupt if it is a national telecom organization, to disrupt the entire the network of telecom. We have seen those telecom the attacks in last 6 to 8 months, whether it is in Africa or Southeast Asia or even South Asia. We have seen those cases. Manufacturing, the third one, because in COVID, you can understand when factories were shut down, manufacturing units were stopped, employees were working from home. Definitely, it was an easy target for adversaries. That manufacturing has also, a IoT environment or OT environment, I would say. So IT and OT, it's a mix. So there are a lot of challenges in terms of how you can have OT and IT, kind of visibility. So that was the the easy target for manufacturing units, and then definitely other verticals like financial services, banks, and professional services, and a couple of others. Definitely healthcare were also hit in a couple of countries because of the COVID. Those adversaries were trying to disrupt the entire healthcare system. So this is one of the verticals. Now, if you look at this and compare, it's an interesting data point. Now, financially motivated e-crimes or ransomware attack, out of those, the overall attacks, the ransomware was about 81%. And why? Because there is a financial motivation behind this. You get the initial access, you get into the systems, encrypt the files, encrypt the servers, exfiltrate the data, and then ask for a ransom. That was something which these ransomware, the actors, were playing. And that was the main objective, to exfiltrate the data and ask for a ransom. Another, the motivation for these actors for extortion. So one is the ransom. Definitely they get a ransom to pass the decryptor to the organizations so they can encrypt the data and they can utilize that. Otherwise, if you do not have a backup, assume that if you do not have a backup and your, the production data is encrypted, it's very difficult actually for the organization, because there could be some sensitive data, there could be some key data actually to operate. So the another actually angle from a financial motivation was the extortion. That, okay, if you do not give me this, I can put it on the dark web, I can share the data on the internet. So those are the things actually were happening for last couple of months or years, as I mentioned. This is a very interesting data point, which I would like to mention, that if you look at the 2017, these were the self-identified events, ransomware cases, where organization's cybersecurity team or information security team was able to detect and identify that there is a malicious activity or malicious artifact actually in their organization. But 2018 it increased, but look at the 2020 data. In 69% cases, they were able to identify at their own that they have been hit or there are some malicious activities. But in 14% cases, the ransomware execution has happened, and these were reported by regulators. These were reported by federal agencies. In one of the cases in Pacific region, I can't take the name of the organization, where they got a call from the federal agency that we have found your data in dark web, and because we have a threat intelligence, we got your data there. Please check your systems. When they check the systems, initially they mentioned, hey, there is nothing, everything is clean. But when they did, a proper, thorough forensic investigation, the federal agency was right. So that means at some time in 2020, the trend was that even the reporting was done by outside the organizations, either regulators or a federal agency. We have seen those cases where central bank, whether it's a MAS or the RBI in India or a couple of others, they take a proactive action and intimate or give a notification to the organizations that, hey, there is something. This is the vulnerability. You need to take care of that. Now, if you look at this data point, I mean, this is very interesting. When we entered in COVID situation, you can say that Jan to June 2020, but before that, Jan to December 2019, this was, I would say, the beginning of COVID. 31% was a nation state, the attacks, or the e-crime was about 69%. But since e-crime, including ransomware, increased significantly actually from Jan to June 2020, the state-sponsored attacks were reduced, because there are a lot of states, or I would say nations, who were focusing on the healthcare sector, who were focusing on the COVID, how they can control. There was a shutdown. Because of that, ransomware cases or e-crime cases increased. So this is just a number comparison. It is not that the state-sponsored attacks were reduced, because the e-crime increased as the overall percentage of state-sponsored attacks were reduced. Now, I'll come to another point where we have seen, we have so many discussions and a debate that what is the right technology actually to stop these kind of attacks. We have seen since beginning that we were having, signature-based technology where you can detect any malware, and then the new malware can be updated in your signature-based endpoint security. But I think the scenario has been changed now. So organizations cannot be safe because of they have endpoint security, which is a signature-based, the technology or endpoint security, because now attacks are coming in from a malware-free. So 49% malware, 51% malware-free attacks. So scenario has been changed completely, and that's the reason it is very important to have artificial intelligence or machine learning based behavioral analysis of those malicious activities or artifacts in the environment. These malware-free attacks or fileless attacks are being used. Even they look at their native operating systems, whether it is a PowerShell or a scripting or WMI, where you cannot say it is a it is an illegal software which is running in your computer. It could be a legit software which is running because you are working on those software, and then actually it is being used for those malware-free attacks. It is a starting point, and then adversaries take the advantage of that. So that's a trend which we have been seeing for last several years, and that's the reason if the endpoint security is not based on artificial intelligence, which can assess, which can analyze, and definitely can help with the speed, it is very difficult actually to stop those breaches. So we need to look at it that way, that how AI, how cloud, or how machine learning are actually helping to stop these kind of breaches. Now, if you look at the attack sophistication, we have seen, as I mentioned, the file-based malware, zero-day malware. If you look at the initial from the initial file-based malware, how much is the difficulty actually for the adversaries to look at it? So difficulty was nothing because it's a signature-based IOCs. Though there were some machine learning or blacklisting available, but if you look at the right now, it is not easy because attack sophistication is also there, because there are a lot of fileless and exploits, whether it is a credential theft, account takeovers, live attacker or inside living off the land, because somebody is already there as in the system using the native applications, native systems. It is very difficult actually to find whether it is a false positive or it is really a malicious activity in the environment. So that's the reason if you look at from difficulty to the further where the live attacker or insider are creating a challenges. If you do not have a proactive threat hunting based on AI and ML model, it is really difficult actually to detect and prevent from those sophisticated cybersecurity attacks. So that is something which we need to look at it. Now, in terms of impact, and what is the impact and how is the impact? I mean, the biggest impact for any organization, if they have been breached, is the business disruption, because they are not able to operate. They cannot provide service to their customers. They cannot provide service to their partners. So that is a biggest impact of about 36% as per our report. Another big impact actually, for the organization is a data theft. If somebody has taken the data out, that could be really a big challenge. And suppose that if the data is coming in from those organizations, I would say those countries where there is a strict data privacy law. Now, if suppose that if you are an organization operating in European market and and data has been stolen or exfiltrated, there could be a significant penalties from a GDPR. and we have here in Singapore as well, actually, PDPA. So we need to look at it, what is the biggest impact on the organization, the business disruption, data theft, and definitely monetary loss. Because if systems are encrypted and you're not able to get your data back, definitely you end up paying something there. It is legal, it is not legal, that's a different question. Definitely Singapore doesn't allow anyone to pay kind of a ransom and to support those adversaries. In most of the countries, actually, it is not legal. But there are trends. There are data points actually where organizations pay these ransom across the globe. This is another interesting point, and you'll be shocked to hear that. That if 2019 data showed an increase to an average of 95 days that adversaries were able to hide their activities from defenders. So what happens? Sometimes it is not always a zero-day attack. It is not like the adversary has come and just attacked. There are so many adversaries actually, especially nation states. The ransomware, I understand that they take less time to get into the system and attack, and and then I would say get their objective, the end objective, which is a data exfiltration. But nation states actors actually stay there in the system for longer time. We were talking to one of the organizations which was attacked by ransomware. We deployed our technology. We were doing a forensic investigation and incident response. And we found that there was a nation state already there in the system since 2019. And I'm talking about early 2021. That means for last 2 years, the adversary was already there in the system, was maybe taking some time to understand the system, to understand the environment, or was waiting for the right time to attack. But before that, the ransomware adversary attacked to that organization. And we were able to find that there were two. One is the nation state, another one is a ransomware adversary. So the point which I'm trying to make here is that sometimes breaches go undetected, and that is called silent failure. And that is where the dwell time is, that if you reduce the dwell time, you can at least get some success to mitigate the risk. If dwell time is long, it is really, really difficult actually, because by that time, adversary will get all sort of sensitive information. They can plan how to attack, where to attack. They can look at your ADs, they can look at your assets, they can look at what is going on in terms of a communication. Who are your customers, who are your partners, how you share the communication or data with a third party. And they can plan a big attack, or I would say the sophisticated, very strong attack, where the organization's operation can be disrupted in a big way. Now, always we say in these kind of situations that speed is the key. Now, definitely AI and ML and cloud have helped a lot actually to give that kind of a speed, because if you have IOCs in your cloud, you can map it. If you have AI and ML model, you can react very fast, versus if you have a manual system or a signature-based technology. Or even I would go further. Suppose that if you have an on-prem solution or on-prem endpoint security, this is very difficult. You need to have a cloud-based if you want to get some kind of a speed. Now, if you look at the Russian breakout time, it takes 18 minutes, 49 seconds to reach at the breakout stage, where they go laterally and achieve their objective. Objective is data exfiltration. So they take initial access, their persistence, do a lot more discovery, breakout time, lateral movement, 18 minutes, 49 seconds. That means they are first to, kind of reach to the goal, which is a breakout. The average remediation time for any information security team, definitely I can't, it is average. I can't say that no organization has better timing. But to detect, to understand, to contain and eradicate, it takes 162 hours. It is an average remediation time. Now, you compare, if suppose that if there is a nation state adversary and you reacted in 162 hours, by the time actually you're gone. So that's the reason CrowdStrike approach always is that you need to have a 1-10-60 rule. It is a golden rule which we propose to the organizations, that in 1 minute to detect, 10 minutes to understand, and actually 60 minutes to eradicate or eject that adversary. And that is a golden rule of CrowdStrike, which we always talk about. So 162 hours are not going to work to to actually stop these kind of a sophisticated attacks. Now, definitely, as I mentioned, the speed is the key. Survival of the fastest. Earlier, it was survival of the fittest, but right now, the survival of the fastest. The 1 minute to detect, and how you can do that. You need to have artificial intelligence based systems. You need to have machine learning or the proper IOAs and IOCs actually in your instance. You need to have a cloud native architecture. Right? Without that, it is very, very difficult actually to achieve that speed of 1 minute to detect. Now, another one is the investigation at speed. You need to investigate it. You need to understand that this is a detection within 10 minutes time. And if you do not have an EDR or endpoint detection response, it is really, really difficult actually to do that. If you do not have a proper threat intelligence feed about your organization, about the vertical of your organization, it is really difficult. Or if you do not have a managed threat hunting where proactively you hunt those malicious activities, it is very difficult to achieve that in 10 minutes. And the remediation and containment, because if you do not contain, it can it can spread all across your network. It can impact the wider network actually of the organization. So containment is important. And then remediate. So the cloud-based remote device management systems or any kind of a proactive planning and preparation can help you to contain and remediate it. Because if, as I mentioned earlier, if we are not prepared, even if you have AI or ML, these are technologies, but somebody needs to have a proper plan before the breach. Incident response plan or preparedness actually is very, very important. So you can be supported by these sophisticated technology in your organization. But definitely, I mean, as an organization is structured, as an information security team, you need to have a proper planning and then utilize and use these sophisticated technologies, AI, ML, or cloud-based processes. Now, if you look at this graph, and this graph will give you some kind of automated hunting engine, which is called threat graph in CrowdStrike. Now, what it shows, 135 million IOAs or decisions per minute, 6 trillion events per week, which we collect. It's a huge database, and it is not possible if you have the manual system, if you do not have a proper cloud-based AI and ML-based systems. So that's the reason AI is actually creating a big difference. Is creating a big opportunity, for cybersecurity organizations to detect it, to detect those malicious artifacts, to detect those the malicious activities, and then respond quickly as soon as possible. Because of those systems, because of the AI and ML model, because of the cloud, we have been tracking almost 150 plus adversaries across the globe, whether these are the nation states or e-crime groups or any the ransomware adversaries. So we have been tracking on a regular basis and updating for the internal database. We have a very strong threat intelligence team which always track and update those informations and share with our partners and share with the customers on a regular basis. Now, how the entire database, if you have seen that 135 million decisions per minute, or a security events 6 trillion per week, or 150 plus adversaries are being tracked. It's a huge database. But if you do not enrich the data, if you do not get that insight from that data, it is useless, because you are not going to take the decision. It is a huge data. And if you do not have those, as I mentioned earlier, I'm again repeating, if you do not have AI and ML based systems, you cannot actually assess the data. You cannot analyze the data, which is, it's a huge. So that's where actually, automated threat hunting based on AI and ML model helps a lot to enrich the data or analyze the data, and to find a way that how can you take those data, convert into actionable insights, and definitely actually to it helps you to prevent the threats. You then hunt proactively, because then you get some kind of insight, and you can hunt actually for those malicious activities on a regular basis, and definitely investigate faster. Now, if you have too many activities going on, too many malicious activities going on, if you have a data point, and you do not get those actionable advice used by these sophisticated AI ML models, it is very difficult to investigate faster, because there could be some false positive. There could be some those I would say the low impact activities, which could be managed at the later stage. But what about the critical impact activities or malicious activities? It is very difficult if you do not have those actionable insights. It helps a lot for information security team as well as forensic investigators, because they can actually wrap up the entire incident response as soon as possible if they have a good support from the technology like this, and good support from threat intelligence team. So CrowdStrike perspective, this is a number of potentially breaches stopped 75,000. In 2019, I remember that data was about 40,000 plus breaches we stopped, and now the number is 75,000, and that was possible because of the sophisticated technology which we have or other organizations may have. Now, the connecting back to the last slide, how AI and ML is helping organizations and cybersecurity organizations. Now, 1 trillion events per day, you analyze 23 million hunting leads and 100,000 suspicious events. Suppose that if it is a data point. But how many alerts? Actually 200 alerts. Why? Because there are a lot of things are happening at the back end. The backend engine is working to give actionable insights, and that's the reason actually those the minimum number of alerts are coming in, because those are being filtered, those are being actioned, those are being actually looked into that okay, these are legit or these are not legit. So that is the reason actually the organization see a minimum number of alerts when there is a technology being used actually based on AI and ML or even cloud. From a CrowdStrike perspective, as I mentioned, that the number has increased significantly from 150 to 160 active adversary groups, and this is I have already actually covered in a previous slide, so I would rather skip this. When there are the cyber attacks, what is the key thing actually for organizations to use the sophisticated technology, tools and technologies? The first thing is to assess the threat, as I mentioned, to contain the threat from an incident response perspective, to investigate it and secure. And that's where actually, it's an end-to-end process. It is not that somebody just has a technology and can manage that particular incident. If they have a AI and ML engine, no, they need to have a threat intelligence as well. They need to have experience how to do a forensic investigation, how to manage the entire the incident if there is any attack happens, and how to secure for the future actually of that organization. Now, one of the things which I mentioned, and probably could be my second last slide, if not, breaches go undetected, I mentioned earlier. And there are organizations who always try to come up with the new systems, new processes, or new security control, but these breaches are not being stopped. These organizations, are trying their best, but sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, breaches go undetected, which is called silent failure. And when they engage third party, those third party, what they do, They do not have sophisticated technology. They ship their servers, boxes, the load software, or fly consultants from one location to another location. They scan it for a couple of weeks, take a couple of months to remediate it. From a CrowdStrike perspective, and why I'm saying this, because that is the biggest differentiator in terms of how you use your sophisticated technology, how you use your skilled resources, how you use your process to manage those cyber incident. From our perspective, we deploy a cloud-based sensors on the endpoints, on the devices and the servers, which gives us a visibility within few minutes. So we gain the visibility within few minutes to kind of look at the systems, what are those malicious activities, and try to actually preserve those forensics, which helps us to do a forensic investigation in the future. And definitely contain the threat within few hours, recover endpoints within few days, secure the environment within few weeks. That's the reason we always call that any incident response needs to be I would say the intelligence-led incident response plan. If there is any attack happens, the intelligence-led incident response is only possible where you have a sophisticated technology like AI and ML and cloud, where you have a lot of IOCs to map, to reach to the conclusion that, okay, this is the adversary, this damage it has done, at what time actually it has entered in the system, on which host actually he utilized and he entered in the system. So all those, the critical information, the key insights actually is possible when you have those intelligence-led incident response systems or even endpoint security. Because at end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, the business disruption is the biggest impact, and it can actually reduce the business disruption if you have that sophisticated technology and process. The last from my side is, as I mentioned, that you need to have an integrated approach. You cannot stop attacks. You cannot, secure your organization if you do not have an integrated approach, if you work in silos. So one of the thing is, there should be a proper services, I would say the arm within the organization, a proper plan, whether the information security team or even the executive levels, because sometimes you cannot take the decision at your own. The decisions at the time of a breach need to be taken by senior executive team members. Even if you suppose that if there is any attack and you want to shut down your servers or the devices or some other infrastructure, you need to take a proper go ahead from the senior executive team members. So that preparation is very, very important. And that's the reason we always talk about, incident response preparedness or any kind of a tabletop exercises for senior executive team members, in the service. We also use a Falcon Insight, which is an EDR to help organizations, and definitely a threat intelligence module of Falcon Intel. So all these things actually come together to help our customers so they can, get back to the normal business as soon as possible. And that is again, not only at the time of a breach, that needs to be, again, as I mentioned earlier, it needs to be integrated approach before the breach, at the time of a breach, and post breach. And that's where actually it can give you a lot of resiliency, because attack happens. I have seen the organizations in one of the countries in Southeast Asia, and the CISO mentioned to me that they are being attacked in every 3 months. So I think they were trying to control the attack. That is good, but after the attack, they just forget about it. So the post-incident, the process, the post-incident exercise is equally important, as we have a pre-incident or during the incident action plan. With that, this is my last slide, and thank you very much for your time.